What's popping? What's popping? What's popping? Welcome to No Blankets Podcast, where we engage in raw, unfiltered discussions that leave no topic covered up. Can you believe it? We rock in season 2, episode 1, Curiosity. Are you not entertained? And yes, it's your girl and your host, C.U. West. Thank you for allowing my face in your space tonight. Please do your girl a favor. You know how we roll. If you viewing this podcast on Facebook, please give me a like and a follow. Or if you're viewing from YouTube, hit that subscribe and notification bell to get alerts when we go live at No Blankets Podcast. Shout out to Miss Ely Chandler of Chandler and Company for keeping our head game fly with the dopest fedoras and sack. Thanks for your continued support, sis. Oh, and check this out. All sponsored information will be included in the comment section below. So, family, show them some love and support. And if you're a small business seeking a platform to network and advertise, I have super affordable price packages. So DM me for more info if you want your business mentioned on No Blankets Podcast. Also, shout out to the late but never forgotten, our forever brother, the Sherwood Carthen, who said, and I quote, "Don't ever stop following a legend, but make sure you identify what one is." Well, hell, I know it's been a minute, but just so we're clear, I consider myself a disseminator of information versus a weekly talk show host. Because let me tell you something, Linda, okay? If you want a quality show, then you need a team of people blessed with certain skill sets that, sets your podcast apart and embellishes your podcast. And I was the only person. So thank you for your grace while I'm still building the show's brand and the image. But how have y'all liked the podcast so far? All right. If you have, give your girl a thumbs up in the comment section below. I hope y'all brought your iPads, your notepads, your pens, your pencils, because tonight my guest and I are purposely and passionately going to stir your curiosity like a taste of New Orleans gumbo, baby. Because when you think about what curiosity drives discovery. It's the oil that fuels creativity. Curiosity connects us to the hidden mysteries. Curiosity pulls in the direction to explore and jump out into the deep waters and push the boundaries of indoctrination. Curiosity, family, dares you to question that big why in your mind. In this season, we uncover why curiosity has the power to transform not only what you know, but what you do with what you know. To help me strip away some of the layers of historical gorilla glue is my guest tonight, who is affectionately and professionally addressed by many as Coach Dante. This man is a certified health and wellness coach with the National Academy of Sports Medicine. He specializes in weight loss, fitness nutrition, group exercise, behavioral coaching, and corrective exercises. To complement Coach Dante's passion of wellness is his background studies and extensive training in theology, trauma-informed care, and energy transmutation. Coach Dante believes that every human is designed to discover and enjoy their individual authentic self, which will automatically contribute to the collective evolution of humanity. Without further ado, my brother, my friend, the Mr. Dante L. Moore. How you doing, brother? Welcome.
Oh, sis, I am absolutely well. I am honored and just full of gratitude to be a part of this. I actually was kind of looking around to see who you was talking about when you was reading that bio. I was like, that really me?
That's really you, brother. That's really you. You've
but
been
thank
putting in
you.
the
Thank
work.
you. I'm honored.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You've been putting in the work. You have been putting in the work. And I can see just from your bio and from your pictures, the just the power of transformation, right? And I know we're gonna get into it deep, and we are really going to address this thing about curiosity. I want to thank everyone who's tuning in tonight and who will watch the replay if this is past your bedtime, because I because you are um before I let you go. I had the opportunity, Dante, just to get into the definition of curiosity. When you and I we're throwing this word around, right?
Hmm.
And this topic around, it was intriguing. And so one of the definitions was a strong desire to know or learn something. The urge you feel to know more about something, to investigate and learn, a need and a thirst or desire for knowledge. Um, when we talk about curiosity, Dante, what do you think you can add to that prior to um, your testimony tonight?
Well, just listening to those definitions, which is definitely spot on. Something I learned in my life coach training. It was told by the behavioral scientists that trained me that reality demands confirmation.
Mm.
Reality demands confirmation. And so when you think about reality, not just this three-dimensional five sense reality we live in, but the greater reality, the energy source which we can come from, that is a source of infinite information. It's nonstop. And so anything that is being told, anything that is being shown, anything that is being experienced in this 3D life has to be researched. There needs to be substantial information to confirm that what we've been told, what we've been taught, what we've been conditioned is absolutely the truth. It has some substantial facts to it. And so that is what helped kickstart me into really getting deeper into why we've been told certain things, why we've been shown certain things, why we've been conditioned to think certain ways. And in doing that, I had to learn that it's going to take some courage to let go of what you think you know and use that courage to step into finding out that there's more than what you know. And then once you find that out, use that courage again to apply it because reality demands confirmation.
So before I let you go into your testimony, the one word that just jumped out in my spirit was courage. Because when we have been indoctrinated into a specific belief or a organization, um, it's hard to go against the majority or the construct, right? Because every group has an identity, they have a culture, right?
Yeah.
And so when you find some new information that's different than the bylaws, right, of a
Yeah.
particular organization, um, it does take courage. So when you say three-dimensional, that's key. So we're going to break this series down. There's three types of behavior that a curious person has, right, family? So a curious person has the ability to let's just say they want to see, they want to, they just want to check it out. You know what I'm saying? Like Facebook, they're scrollers, right? They just want to see what's going on, right? And then you have the person that wants to not only see, but they want to know, they want to have an understanding of what they're seeing, right? And then you have the third behavioral person who not only sees it and knows it or wants to know it, but also wants to apply that which they've known. And so because we can't tackle it all tonight, right? We're going to do it in stages. So our first um, stage is going to be a prelude into Dante's testimony of the why. So as a man, as I'm looking at your bio, you said you had extensive studies in theology, and you know our conversations uh, have evolved from where you and I met in an organization, in organized religion. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I confirm, yes, our conversations have evolved over the years, and thanks to the courage that we use to be curious, to ask why. Why do I even believe what I believe?
Right.
Um, to find confirmation about what I've been told, what I've been shown. Do research about it, especially when you get curious about certain habits and your way of doing things, why you do the things that you do, especially when it comes to institutions like organized religion, which is heavy on rules, regulations, morals, behavior modification, um, uh, being things based on reward and punishment, heaven or hell, I may say, which is measured by your behaviors, your actions, your morals, your good or your bad. But then when you are spending so much time trying to get rid of these sins, these bad actions, and so forth and so on, you spend so much energy trying to get rid of it, but really never stop and ask yourself, man, where did this even come from? Why do I even do this? Why do I
Hmm.
behave this way? You already, if not, if you haven't seen that you actually are a good person, that you have a pure heart, you need to accept that. But once you do, you're like, wait a minute, I know I got a good heart. I know I don't mean to do the things that is called wrong. It's called sin.
Right.
So why do I even, keep doing it? Where did this come from? And from there, I wanted to get to the root cause of my actions. What I even do, not so much even just put a tag on to say that it's wrong and that's a sin, but why do I even do it? Um, and from there, I always believe that in order to really change the fruit, you got to get to the root cause, see where it's coming from, see exactly where it's coming from. And that even goes beyond the rules that has been put in place, that's just telling you just stop doing it, or pray, pray it away, you know, exercise it away, and not the exercise I do like pumping iron, but I cast you out, type of type of
So
exercise.
so 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 you're saying, so do you think that um pastors or clergy have acted in the way that they you know that the culture is like, you talking about just pray it away? For me, I done been um tackled on the ground in church, blown on, laid hands on, the oil, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To try to get away the gay spirit, right? Um, so what are you saying when you're talking about, what you struggle with, your particular sin, or your, thorn in your side, right? When the oil and the prayers and the fasting didn't remove that, was that part of your curiosity? Did it, steer you to seek other options, other religions, other philosophies?
That and even when it came to my studies, when I would study the the written scriptures that we have today, the way I was trained, which the person that trained me probably didn't intend for me to study the way I studied. That curiosity caused me to get to all the way back to, okay, why was this written the way it was written? Where did it come from? And when I would apply the customs and manners and get back to the root word and things like that, it would lead me to other avenues that would say, wait a minute, in order for me to find this out, I need the archaeologist side, or what, because this predates back to here. And so one thing would lead me to another, which would get me curious to another, which would take me all the way back further than what was originally told to me what happened. And it was like, oh, wait a minute, this goes way back, way back before this here. And it had that side on one side of the coin, but then the other side of the coin was the things I was doing, the fasted away, the prayed away, so forth and so on. I also started noticing that I had to be honest with myself and say, you know what, I'm being just a little bit animated right now. Um, this is a lot more of my emotions. I'm putting
Right.
too much of um, theatrical effort into this, and this is not making any sense. And that was one thing about me as well. There would be parts of my way of thinking and the way my spirit would guide me to say, this two plus two is not equaling four. I mean, it's not at all. This is not making any sense. And when I would go and do the more extensive study on things, I would find loopholes that was missing and things that were being told and shown to me that would lead back to other areas that we didn't include in our theological studies and so forth and so on. And that's things like emotional intelligence. And I have to say that is a huge missing piece, primarily in the African American uh, partake of theology, to where the lack of emotional intelligence um, is the reason why it's easy for us to be irrational with trying to get rid of these habits and trying to fix ourselves and do these irrational things and outbursts and so forth and so on, and terries and so forth and so on, and 2 and 3 hours of praying this away, when all you have to do is research the fact that there was an experience that happened at 5 years old that was coupled with um, a level of emotion that created a long-term memory of survival in our subconscious, to where now every time a similar event from that event comes up, it brings up that
It
act.
triggers it triggers a
It
trauma.
triggers that act. It triggers that
Yes.
behavior. It triggers that way of thinking. And
Hmm.
so with my particular, I'm not afraid to say this because I've gone out in the world and been transparent about a lot of quote unquote issues I had. Um, the quote unquote lust issue I had, that led to infidelities and adultery that I partook in. It was me praying, pray this lust away, pray this lust away, or turn my eyes if I see a beautiful woman, so forth and so on. Where emotional intelligence and trauma informed care, which I've had training in during my time, my employment at Kaiser Permanente, I found out that no, it was the insecurity that I had all the way in elementary school, when the girls I had crush on thought I was thought I was you know the ghetto ugly black boy, and then getting to
Yeah.
junior high and even freshman, I was the small dude as a freshman. I sprouted at the end of my junior year, but being the more smaller dude, I wasn't really getting the girls and things of that sort. And so that planted a, a hunt to have to, you know, cover that insecurity. It's not that you have a lust problem, man. It's just that you have a rejection problem. You have an abandonment problem.
Ooh,
Uh,
say it again. Say it
you
again.
know,
Say it again.
you don't like to be rejected, and so next thing you know, I get some height, and I start getting a little bit of money. The next thing you know, I'm keeping my shoes clean all the time, man. I learned how to cut my own hair, my
Yeah.
presence, and everything, and so forth and so on. And then when that attention started really being fed, it wasn't that I was just so much just trying. It wasn't a lust problem. It was that missing part of me, that hurt part of me, that built the ego that said, "Ah, man, yeah, that you getting it right there. Now you getting the attention." It wasn't that my wife was a bad person or she was neglecting me. It was just that there was a 7-year old me, a 15-year old me, who got tired of not getting the attention, now getting the attention, and he's hungry. But
Right.
theology didn't teach me that. The scriptures didn't, the way it was being told and trained to us, it wasn't taught that way. And I even saw that when I started diving into things like emotional intelligence through my curiosity. I even saw in the original scriptures and the original interactions of Yeshua that this dude really had some. He really displayed emotional intelligence, and but it wasn't conveyed. He's not conveyed that way.
Right.
He's not
Right.
talking about it that way. It's
Right.
mentioned. Watch this. It's mentioned, but it's not broken down as
Mm-hmm.
what that was. I use a prime example when he was being tempted, by the Pharisees with the woman that was caught in the very act of adultery, and they brought her to him and said, "Hey, since you are a follower of the law says that if a person is caught in the very act, they're to be stoned to death. What do you say?" And what was the first bodily response? Because emotions are languages of the body. The first bodily response was Yeshua got down onto his knee and wrote in the ground as if he never heard him. The first thing he did was make sure that he didn't give him any kind of emotional reaction. Okay, you coming to me with all these facts. You know what I'm saying? Let me act like, this ain't even phasing me right about now. And put the actual compassionate reason to this. Because he acted with everything he did, he acted with compassion. He responded with
Mm-hmm.
compassion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the response that he gave them, he said that they walked away from the eldest to the youngest convicted in their conscience, their conscience,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in their
Mm-hmm.
conscience.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knew that, the first thing, that you give these facts that are going to, make me kind of like in anxiety, like, man, how do I answer this? How do I answer this? He didn't give him the satisfaction. So I just use that as an example to where we're not taught that, hey, man, where is this coming from? Okay. Yeah, it's a fact that, I think women are beautiful. Yeah, that's a beautiful woman. So forth and so on, said, but why do I feel the need that I have to have her? Where's that coming from?
Right.
So right,
I think not to cut you off, Dante. I think that organized religion didn't make room, um, at least when I was coming up in it, for the psychology and the psychiatric part of it, right? Because everything was prayed away, right? Everything was fasted away, and then we had to deal with the stigma of mental health issues, right?
hmm
Like we couldn't talk about someone really, or even not even knowing the difference between someone who is, say, um, struggling with a spiritual battle versus a mental, you know, um, a mental illness, just the unpreparedness of not having those concepts, you know, uh, in the church did so much damage and injustice. Um,
Hmm.
how do you feel about that particular stigma of seeking counseling, outside of, or do you think that pastors and ministers were prepared, even, right, to deal to deal with the mental uh, health illness, or even could identify, right? Is this, does this cat got a legion? You know what I'm saying? Am I bad? You know what I'm saying? Am I get my
Yeah.
oil over here, or you know what I'm saying, or do I go through my some of my psychology journals to how, what do you think about that?
Man, without uh, going into and trying my hardest not to go into uh, what we'll be touching on in some of the other episodes, I first have to say that no, I don't think the clergy are prepared. And for even the ones that think they do, they're not, because even beyond even beyond them and past their time into coming into that leadership in that role, we have to first understand that this whole institution, just like other institutions, whether it be politics, whether it be arts and entertainment, it's all driven by making sure that the indoctrination is based on control factor. Is based on a control factor. It's fear induced. It's fear induced. And so the information that is being shared, even out of the most sincere heart of the clergy, of the teacher, of the person, the information that they're conveying, and even the tactics that they're implementing, is fear inducing, and it has some controlling factors to it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and then there's also the ego in it. Your title, gives you a sense of power. It gives you a sense of control over people. And when you feel like people really don't uh, are no longer codependent, they don't need your dependency. They don't need to depend on you. They have their own consciousness that they can walk in. Uh, they have the equal amount of power as you do to walk in their individual identity. Then that ego gets tested. That ego gets tested, gets put on the spot, and so I'll give you enough to where you have to keep needing me, uh, not the actual truth itself, to where you're like, oh snap, okay, I can do this on my own. I can go
Right.
find this out on my own.
Right.
So, on one hand, know that they're not prepared, but on the other hand, even if they were, it may cause them to compromise their power trip.
Well, you gonna get us? Well, we gonna security. So, what led you? What did you see? Um, okay, so Moses. We take Moses. We'll take a story from the Bible. Okay, Moses, was tending the flock of his father-in-law, right? And he sees this burning bush, and his
Uh-oh.
curiosity is like,
Um,
hey man, I got to go up there and see, right, what's going on up there. So, and it changed his life. So we can see how um curiosity causes us to go beyond our comfort zones. So my question to you, brother, is when did you begin to have a Moses experience? When did you see the burning bush on the mountain in your life that caused you to go beyond? For me, it was COVID-19. When the pandemic hit, right? And I realized that God had shut every high thing that could exalt itself higher than him. He shut down entertainment and sports and banks. He shut down the world, period, basically. And for me, it was a paradigm shift. It was an awakening. It was like, okay, I want you guys to return, right? Return not to the church because we couldn't go there, not to praise and worship practice because we couldn't sing it away, right? We couldn't
Yeah.
church it away, and so we had to go back to relationship with God, right? So for me, that was my kind of Moses experience, which led me to go into the deep. What was it for you? What was your burning bush?
I have to say that if it was a major event, it was from the manifesting of these quote unquote mistakes I was making. Again, if I had to tag, uh, the falls I made in my marriage, so forth and so on, that took me into a place that had already. It was like the fruit of planted seeds and watering that had already started happening early in my life. And what I mean by that is, I always realized that I was different when I was younger, uh, as a kid. For instance, the environment I grew up in, growing up in South Sacramento, primarily what I saw as a kid, even before coming into the uh, the church world, when my mother got saved, um, it was uh, Meadowview Blood Gang, Too Short rapping, NWA, you know what I mean? I knew all the songs by heart, you know what I
Sipping
mean?
out gin and juice,
Uh,
lay back.
uh, aunts and uncles, had me and
Yeah,
my
yeah,
siblings and cousins taking pictures
yeah.
with the red rag and things of that sort.
You
But
wait, hit that pose, Dante. Hit it one time.
huh? Oh, we would throw it the capital
Yeah,
B. They had to throw it
right.
the capital B. We spelled out blood.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man, they wouldn't let me in there. I was my mama's only child, man. They was not letting me get in the band.
oh
No, no,
man,
no.
right? So I had that
Mm,
happening, but there was another part of me uh, that was also captivated when I would hear, Kenny G, when I would hear Phil Collins. Um, although, I was into the movie Colors and stuff, I was like, why do I like the movie Adventures in Babysitting? Why am I so big on Rocky Four and things of that sort? And so there was always a curiosity about these different aspects and different parts of me, um, that feeds my nostalgia even to this day. But then once those events like that happen, and once you come into a certain institution that has you cultivating the condition a certain way, when those events hit, it's like, man, why am I like this? Where did this come from? Why? So
mhm,
seeds were already planted and water was already poured on me from events as a child. But then when I came into adulthood and these type of actions started happening that was totally against what I stood for, that was the opportunities for me to dig in and say, okay, I got to. There's something more. There's something more than just this. And then at the same time, watch, check this out. At the same time, um, during my studies in theology, when I would get ready to prepare for a message, there were certain passages that would take me beyond just the literal words there and take me to the actual scene of it happening. And the scene of it happening would take me beyond just what it's been written, what was written, what was told. For instance, for example, um, when it talked about, how God brought all of the animals and the beasts
Oh,
and every
here
creeping
we go.
thing that creepeth upon the earth to mankind to see. You know that King James English version says to see what he would call them. And the way we've been conditioned, the way we've been told, especially in Sunday school, we will automatically think that picture as you got all these animals in a long ass line. Oh, can I say that? Uh,
Yes.
okay, in
No
a,
blankets.
in a long ass line, like he's
Yeah.
sitting on. You got this naked man sitting on a rock, and each
Right.
animal coming up to him. Okay, what's my name? Oh, you're a
Right.
lion. Okay. Oh, you're a giraffe. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Oh, you're a
Right.
caterpillar. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's the truth. We're
Right.
thinking that because those are the names that we know, and we forget. And one not so much we forget. We don't even know that the English language is only 1,700 years old. But anyway, um,
Right.
the fact that this this Homo sapien is
Right.
looking at these things, not sitting on a rock, they're not in a line, but as he's going about being, the image and likeness that he's made in, comes across, this thing that's creeping that got 18 legs, and curiosity is looking and like, that thing moving with 18 legs, you know. Of course, I don't know the language he was talking in. I can only say what I've been told in English, but 18 legs to move that way, to go to, man, that seems, uh, caterpillarized. Huh. I'll just call it caterpillar. 18 legs. Goodness gracious. Okay. All
Right.
right. Man, that that cat seems to have a much more louder roar than that cat over there. I wonder why. And why are the rest of these cats running from this particular one? I guess we'll call that one lion. You know, um,
Right.
and,
Right.
and when
Right.
when I would come across passages like that,
Right.
my curiosity would go that deep. It would go that far to where it would lead me. Watch this. It would lead me to finding hey, um, I wonder if there's something that's out there that already. What if I'm not the only one that thought this? What if there is somebody that has thought this before reading this, and there are some facts about it somewhere, and I would go dig.
Right.
I would go dig to a point to where it led me, and I'll just stop by saying that took me all the way to be like, and this gonna be a shocker for some people, to where it took me all the way to a revelation that's like, nah, there's no way that 8 billion of us came from two single people. Nah.
Or let's just think about it, right? If so, let's get into you talked about anthropology, archaeology. Let's talk about geography,
Mhm.
right? So if Noah was positioned in Africa, all right, I just want to know if can anybody raise their hand out in the audience? Is polar bears in Africa? Any polar bears?
Absolutely not. Not
Any
them with
polar
survive that
bears in
climate.
Africa? So some of the animals that happen to be on the boat, because we're talking about, when we're talking about theology and we talking about studying, but okay, so if Noah was in Africa, how the polar bear get on the boat when that's not even an animal that's an indigenous to that country? Ooh, okay. And then so
And there were no
or
and there were no deep freezers on the ark to keep the polar bears cold enough.
you
Like,
stupid. You stupid. You are stupid. Hey man, wait. And then okay, so if King Herod, right, wanted to kill all the babies, the firstborn babies, right? And the spirit and the angel told Joseph and Mary to get up and take the baby, right? And go hide
uh-huh.
yourself. Uh why would you hide yourself in a place where you could be found. In other words, if these were Caucasian characters as they have been, you know, descripted, Cleopatra, Charlton Heston, Dwight, Moses. So if Mary, Joseph, and Jesus was white, then why did they hide themselves in Egypt when Italy was just right over the pond? You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, but I started to use critical. We're not taught to use critical thinking skills, Dante, when
That
we're studying the Word of God. And so now, there not only we go back to 2019, but it was happening. This awakening, this rolling back of this deception kept happening, right? It just kept happening because um Second Timothy 2:15, you know that well. Study to show thyself approved, a man. Yeah, right? Study what? There wasn't a Bible written.
there wasn't a Bible written, and not
So
only
what it
that, that was a mentor instructing his mentee. It wasn't a group of people he was talking to. It was.
so what I'm saying, if the Torah was the only thing to study, right? So we get caught up in the sensationalism. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like Paul says, to be like the Bereans, because they searched the scriptures.
Yeah.
But what scriptures? Because the Bible wasn't written yet. So the only scripture or papyrus that they had, right, to study was, the Torah. And it just seems like anytime you say or mention anything about the Old Testament, I was called by my brother, you're a law keeper. You're a law keeper. I see your own Bible says that Yeshua said, I came not to destroy the law, but to fulfill it. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So, I mean, but we could go on. We can go on and on and on. But I wanted to ask you, um, when you were studying, and it started not to add up, where how did you go about conveying that to leadership? Did you present it? Did you what were some of the challenges that you had, hmm, because and anytime you go against indoctrination,
Mhm.
or go against the majority, right? You're looked at as a conspiracy theorist, or you've lost your mind, or you've fallen away from the faith. You're reprobate.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Honestly, um, there wasn't anyone that I um went to. There wasn't like a senior pastor or anybody I went to with these questions or anything like that. And the reason why I didn't is because I already knew the
Hmm.
response I would get. Because when you find out this new information, what I'm also finding out is the power. Again, I mentioned the power trip and the safety and the play it safe. That because I was in that role too. I'm guilty of it too. I know how it felt to have uh, the power because of the influence you get and the control because people think you sound so good and so you're so anointed and you have this influence and so when that is being threatened, you know um, it's it's easy to call a person a heretic, a maverick, so forth and so on. And
Right.
so you already know that's going to happen. Especially for me, it was during a time where I felt like the Christian church, especially in the African American um side of it, was going through a huge transition, a huge just um, like exposing. There were those that were coming out even with their own curiosity. Rest in peace to Bishop. I can
Carter.
no the one that really got the bad rap.
Carlton.
Carlton Pearson.
Carlton.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness,
Oh,
man!
you already know.
Oh man, he touched on some clarity that was a scary thing for those that felt like their power trip and their control was being threatened. So
But
I didn't, but
isn't that the indoctrination, OD? Isn't that indoctrination? Like, yo, one of my sisters came into the shop, and I thought I called it a black Hebrew Israelite. Yeah, black Hebrew Israelite coming against, if you came against my, Jesus at the time, man, I was coming for your dome. So
me too.
you know what
Absolutely.
you know what I'm saying? I mean, and
Uh,
it's a trip now, because it's in plain sight, and it gets it's in plain sight. We got a question. Rodney says, he says, I'm a law keeper, and if King David is King Solomon's father, and King Solomon is King Menelek's father, King Menelik being a founding king of Ethiopia, where are the white people? See, there you go, Rodney. You start. Oh, you you get ready to start something, So
Rodney Big House, bro.
you know, So we have a
Stir it
book.
up, stir it up, stir it up.
So Kyrie Irving started a paradigm shift
Mhm.
when he posted, basically, just go and watch the documentary Hebrews to Negroes, right? Um, and he got a lot of backlash. And so when we right when we started to question from a geographical and a historical and uh, a anthropology perspective, you know we we you're gonna lose followers, you're gonna lose people, they're going, oh,
Absolutely.
your soul gonna go to hell, we damned for life, uh we've lost our way,
Mhm.
you know um
Fortunately, I have to say for me, although I did get quite a bit of backlash when I started coming out about my different beliefs about things. Fortunately for me, I had a community, a small community of other brothers that was uh, simultaneously having the same curious questions and awakening, and having those few brothers that was like, man, bro, you too, man, bro, I've been thinking that too. Like, man, this hasn't been making sense. And having that community, um, even though we all started getting that backlash, the fact that we still had each other to encourage one another, and find that there were others on major platforms as well that started having the same questions and curiosity, to where we was like, hey, something is something is happening. Something is, and it's always only going to be a few that have the courage to step out. On it. It's always going to be a majority that play it safe, because the fear sets so well in them, and common sense ain't common no more, because some of this stuff, is common sense as well. you know,
you,
some stuff is common sense as well. Um,
Dante, here is a map of the post transatlantic slave route, right in here, right?
mhm.
I can't enlarge it, but for those of you that are viewing and maybe viewing for the first time, this is the post transatlantic slave route, right? A lot of times, um, your identity is everything, and your identity to your creator is key, right? Um, And so when I found this information out, Dante, this was a life changer for me, right? So you have the Spaniards and the northern Europeans and the Cape Verdean Portuguese that came across the Atlantic Ocean, right? And so when we have the picture of our ancestors, we think that they were taken all over Africa, right? Just all over.
Mhm.
We
Right.
came from, but that's not accurate. Not for the United States Negro. We call them Negroes. Okay. So for the United States Negro, the slave route comes around here, and they were taken from here, which is the kingdom of Judah. So during the Babylonian takeover by Rome, they migrated, okay, from Babylon to Judah, the Hebrew Israelites, right? Remember, um, Jacob had 12 sons, Israel, right? And so one of those tribes, right, of Hebrew Israelites migrated and hid, because again, if you're going to hide, you know, from the white people, you're definitely not going to go hide with other white people. No shade to white people. I'm just telling the historical truth. And so as we're here in the kingdom of Judah, right, in the post and the slave masters come and they grab us from Judah, right? And if you look at the ship's manifest, all of the names on the boat were Hebrew. So you have to
Mhm.
ask yourself and use critical thinking skills. If the boat's manifest or if the people on the boat were Hebrews and they came to the United States and they were from the kingdom of Judah and they were Hebrew Israelites, then that makes me a descendant of Hebrew Israelites. Uh-oh. Uh you know what I'm saying? Oh shoot. I'm gonna start this up. You know what I'm saying? And so now we have an identity. And you're
Mhm.
wondering why pastors aren't preaching this game like they told us we were Gentiles, but we're not Gentiles.
No.
We're descendants, you know what I'm saying, of the Hebrew Israelites that were captured in Judah and sent here to the Americas from the post-transatlantic slave route. Um, and then, if and so they colonize the colonizers or the slave masters, we'll take Roots, for example, Dante, right? And
Mhm.
we look at Roots and they beat Kunta Kinte, not so much because they wanted him to become submissive, but they wanted to erase his
Erase his
identity.
identity.
They wanted to erase um his culture, his language. Don't talk like that anymore. Don't, so when we get indoctrinated into a particular thought system like religion, right,
Mhm.
versus relationship, right? Do you think that we are stripped from a part of who we are just naturally in that three-dimensional person that has the relationship? Like, I always like you talking about scripture and then having an epiphany. I heard the voice of the Lord walking in the garden in the cool of the day. Hi, Dante. Hi, God. You know what I'm saying?
you
Speak on
lost
that,
you,
Dante.
you lost that identity once. You know you've lost that identity when that voice sounds like James Earl Jones echo talking to you versus your own voice. Uh, because it, you know that it should sound like you. So, uh, you you've already you've already lost that identity when somebody say Christ and the picture that comes in your head is this person Jesus versus your own powerful way of thinking. Um, so yes, identity in institutionalized religion does strip you of your identity. Absolutely, it does, and it tries to replace it with the person Jesus. And I'm gonna get in trouble with this, but I don't care. I know my identity. Where now there is this separation sense. The only way you can identify with your image and likeness of God, it has to be seen through this person, this person here. And now this person is your Lord, your Savior. And it's like, okay, um, but
Come
I
on.
was I was sent here as Dante Lamar Moore. Uh, I was sent here as Dante Lamar Moore. What makes what makes this person much more the son of God than me? And I ain't I just as much as a son as as he is. And I started realizing that it's not it's the common sense says, how is that when at the same time you're telling me that God is no respecter of person? And again, my curiosity goes to that, and it says, what make me so different than Jesus? It's like you're not any different than Jesus. It's the consciousness that Jesus walked in that you also have the availability. You have just as much power and ability as Jesus did, and the power, the ability that Jesus walked in was called Christ. Christ is a consciousness. And so Christ is not a last name. Christ is not a person. It's a power. And your identity is in that power. And so um, it does. But the institutionalized way of indoctrinating, separatism and dualism and looking at something outside of you, different from you, it does strip your identity. If it doesn't empower you to look within and see the singularity, the universal equal in yourself, in you, then no, you are. That thing is stripping you of your identity. Absolutely. Most definitely.
I was looking up colonization, right? And it was talking, and I said, well, what is colonization and and identity theft? And Rodney says, when I was in Nigeria, they speak fluent Hebrew there, right? And when the author of Hebrews to Negroes, Ron Donald or Don Ronald, I can't think of his last name, Ron Donaldson, okay, he asked, the different. He went to Liberia, went to not Ethiopia, went to Ghana, right? And he began to ask, some of the elders, who am I? Or he asked, who are the people in the United States? And you know what they call us? The people of the book, who don't know who they are, right? So
That makes sense.
colonization can be considered a form of identity theft because it often involves the deliberate erase, suppression, or appropriation of the culture, social, and political identities of the colonized people. Um, here's the trickery, and again, um, we're coming to the end of our time, so I hope that you guys will stay tuned. This is just the introduction. We haven't even
Uh,
scratched the surface of
uh,
curiosity. We are just um, dealing with it in three phases. But again, if you liking what you're hearing so far, you're gonna have to meet us because again, this is a series. You're gonna have to meet us next week. Dante, I know you're gonna be able to join us and to help us once again debunk and
Oh yeah, I really can't wait to break down the distinctions between those three personalities of curiosity. It's once I'm telling you, when we start to explain those distinctions, it's
yeah, right.
that's the meat and potatoes.
Right, the person that wants that wants to look, you know,
Mhm.
the person that wants to look, the person that wants to know what they're looking at, and then the person that applies what they're looking at, uh, and what they've learned of what they're looking at. So hang tight, y'all. Once again, thank you so much, Dante, for coming and sharing
Thank
the
you, sis.
space. I have missed you dearly. It was not by coincidence that we reconnected again
Not at
and
all.
reconnected on such an amazing level. You have grown exponentially, and I am so proud
Thank
of
you.
you. And I can't
Thank you.
wait so that we can get into uh, curiosity and the law of attraction and the
Yes.
sexuality and the body and being responsible for our nutrition and the things that we do and why we do the things that we do and
Mm.
you know it's gonna be good. Everybody that's on here tonight and those that will see the replay, thank you so much for allowing us to be in your space tonight. Again, we hope um, we'll figure out a time. We'll do the promotions. But until that time, I'm gonna leave you with a quote. The sun shines on everything, but everything doesn't grow at the same time. You've been listening
Mm.
to your girl C West, No Blankets Podcast. Do me a favor if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and that bell notification. Please leave us comments or any questions that you might have for Dante or myself. And we love you, and we out.